Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Shoot, my mic cord is like hanging by a thread lately. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live ahead of another historic Trump press conference today. Yeah, actually, today's is actually historic. I posted on my Twitter Trump's meeting this morning. Not sure if you guys had a chance to look at it, but a pretty big deal. Earlier today, Trump says the Iran ceasefire is over. Also, okay, we're back. I don't know why this mic keeps messing up, but yeah, pretty insane commentary from Trump today. Really moved markets. Oil shot up to 75 WTI oil today on his announcement that the ceasefire with Iran is over. He did still leave some room for diplomacy. You should be able to hear now. Yeah, I had to plug it back in. But yeah, oil, WTI got up to $75. You can hear now, right? Yeah, it's registering audio, so you must be able to hear. But yeah, just some crazy meetings. I tried to catch up on these bilats as much as I could. I watched that Rutt meeting today. I didn't get a chance to check the other bilaterals he had in terms of what he talked about, but it seems like I don't know if unhinged is the right word, but we're definitely getting a more animated Trump today. Just generally on this press conference, like I said, I haven't had the time because they were all this morning, and to look at all the bilat meetings that were open press today. But what I will say, in terms of format, I mean, there is potential this could go very long, this press conference. Main reason is, if you look at the last summit he was at, they did do a very long press conference. Of course, that was just a day after they had actually announced the MOU. So maybe they had a lot more reason to want to go long, but sort of a big announcement today that they're reversing the ceasefire almost, so maybe more reason for them to want to go long there. But I think from what I've heard, Erdogan is also expected to speak. I think Mark Rutte will also be speaking. We can see there's a stream on U.S. mission to NATO. Don't know which is faster. I would imagine NATO's going to be faster. Let me compare both streams. I like the weird music they have here. Stock market, no. I mean, look, if he's going to restart this war, I mean, there is an angle that it's you maybe don't want to tout the stock market. I think the market's going to be down. Market just opened an hour and a half ago. Yeah, down at 1% today. I guess I'd be careful taking any no's. To me, stock market no in the 50s, 40s, probably not a good buy. But, like I said, I haven't watched the buy lats that were early this morning. I didn't watch the Zelensky one. I'm trying to transcribe them right now because whatever reason, roll call's also not working for the transcriptions. But I would like to see the Trump Zelensky buy lat at least.
By phone. We had a great talk the other day, I think, very positive.
This is the Zelensky
and I
meeting I'm
think
listening
we have
to.
some very good stories to tell. What's going on? He wants to see a settlement, and I think President Putin wants to see a settlement.
So, for this speech, I mean, notably, it is expected to be Trump, Erdogan. There's a market for the buy lats. You can see yes, no strikes at least. Yeah, I did check that out. I don't think there was anything too notable, right? It was mostly kind of like what you'd expect. Like, BB Biden, drone, Iran, a lot of oil. I did actually lose a little bit of money because I was thinking maybe that rut meeting would count, but I guess it was kind of a dumb attempt. I didn't realize it was labeled a greeting. But yeah, you can see BB Biden drone. Hey, by the way, Lysandra, are you the person who DM'd me that stuff earlier? If you want, I was saying, I think that was you. Send me your Venmo. I never got to send you a tip. Yeah, I DM'd you. I made a good bit of money on that, so wanted to send you a tip. Yeah, I don't really know too much to think on this. I mean, part of me thinks this has a lot of potential to go long, similar to his last summit. But, they are saying Erdogan and NATO chief will also speak. Does that mean Erdogan and Rutte are going to come out with Trump, or are they going to speak separately? Probably just gonna live trade this. I mean, elections also. I guess you get a Dodge rigged election. I guess potentially. What platforms do I go live on? I'm live on Twitter and YouTube as well as Twitch, but I'm most active on Twitter. I just restream to YouTube. I'm not too active on YouTube, but I mean you'll catch all my streams on YouTube because I restream through both. But in terms of like posts, I post a lot on Twitter about markets, stuff like that. He seemed to avoid saying ceasefire. I mean, the thing with ceasefire, I guess, the one risk there is, look, if this press conference gets Q&A, I have to think the majority of the questions are going to center on Iran, especially after making a statement that the ceasefire is dead. So, yeah, that's kind of the big risk. Like, if ceasefire is dead after the open and they do take questions, given it's a press labeled a press conference, I would think questions are at least within play and potentially even likely. So if there are questions like Q&A, I mean, certainly they're going to ask about the ceasefire. Whether Trump weaves it or not is another question. But, if like ceasefire gets very cheap live, I'll definitely buy some. I mean, if this does do Q&A, there's potential for this to get kind of crazy in terms of the questions they can ask, everything up for grabs. Like, I mean, the stuff Trump said today is just wow. I mean, look at oil markets. Like, have you guys? I mean, oil was trading below $70 just a few days ago. People thought, the Strait's open. This is all. Oil is up to $75 this morning on the statements just from these meetings. Just crazy news today. And I mean, the market's down 1% on this news, which I think is like, it's amazing how resilient the stock market is, the U.S. market. I mean, at the end of the day, all of the top AI companies are in the U.S., I guess. So I guess it makes sense, but it's just amazing that you can have this crazy backdrop of conflict and the market's just so resilient. Currently looks like it's a little bit delayed. You're going through withdrawal with no World Cup games today? I know, Relgen, but, I guess I'll say, like, for World Cup, I'm a little happy that there's no game today. I mean, I love watching World Cup, but to tell you the truth, man, I am, like, almost burnt out. I mean, I'm having my best month ever with World Cup. I mean, it's been incredible, but, like, my schedule the last 3 weeks has been, like, I wake up, I have 2 to 3 hours maybe to like just go walk, get the sun, and then once World Cup starts, I'm just like locked in at my computer for 12 hours. And some of the games, because I'm on the East Coast, oh my gosh, they would end at like 2 a.m. I mean, the ones that they would start at 11 p.m. Eastern. So I'm just like exhausted. And then the other thing is, it's like, if I'm going to play announcer mentions, it takes me at least an hour to handicap a lot of the strikes. So, I'm just tired. So, I will gladly take the day off and just like recover. Same here. The late games are kind of crazy. Oh, it's been unbelievably fun. I mean, it's like I was worried. Some of the EU games in the EU started to... Yeah, I know. I can't really complain being in the US. I'm sure it's like way worse for Europeans or people internationally, but I don't know, man. It's been such a crazy few months, because before World Cup we had, the NBA games, so it was like every night you had NBA playoffs, you had the finals, and like I was market making those a lot, so I had to be up during all those games. Just been freaking crazy. I mean, I love it. I love what I get to do every day. Don't get me wrong. But man, if I'm not a little tired, 2 a.m. EU time, yeah. That's crazy. That's dedication right there. Well, I mean, look, we kind of get the same treatment for these mention markets, right? I mean, Trump was speaking at 4 a.m. this morning. Ain't no way I'm going to be up for that. But trade-off is they're kind of low volume because all the Americans are asleep. Let me turn my AC on 1 sec. Getting a standby for more live. Let's look at this. I'm gonna look at this. See if I have some time to maybe look at this Zelensky meeting a little bit while I wait. Oh, CNN didn't transcribe it. Come on, CNN.
You speak on a case?
Let me see. if another news agency transcribed it. Alright, they're showing it again. Forbes might have transcribed it. Let's see. Yes, they did.
Your mind, but they launched a couple of.
I'm sure that we will do everything to stop this war. Yeah, and I'm very happy that our side.
Man, watching this Zelensky meeting, you're all entitled to your own political beliefs, but I will say I love Zelensky. I just love that Ukraine is freaking sticking it to them. Like, oh, they're so skilled militarily now. They're so efficient with their use of military equipment. It's incredible. It's like we have this Iran conflict breakout and everybody's even asking Ukraine to help. You know, we have all our Saudi allies that are shooting $1 million. You have the Saudis shooting $1 million anti-missile defense systems to take out like $10,000 drones or whatever. And then you have Ukraine that's just, you know, they've had to get by with what equipment they have. They've gotten so efficient at using low-cost equipment to survive this war. Just really awesome to see. Because, I mean, it looked really bleak for them at times. I'm really, really happy they pulled through. And, I mean, they're going to be such an emboldened country after this. They're going to have so much national identity. Just awesome for them. One of the things I was really, really sad about was there was an era where, as part of kind of this isolationist stance that, you know, Trump and Republicans wanted to take in terms of, you know, where we're spending money, we kind of turned on Ukraine a little bit. That became a big talking point for Republicans. I'm really, really glad we pushed away from that, and now Trump is kind of leaning in more in support of Ukraine. That was one of the saddest moments for me. I was so sad when for like almost a year, you know, when that whole Zelensky fight happened in the bilateral, you know, what a beast Zelensky was too for standing up for, you know, I'm American, obviously. I support the U.S., you know, so like, but I was very proud that he pushed back on that day because they wanted, you know, I'm sure as long as you make some kind of drone deal with the Arabian, they have extremely skilled drone, they don't shoot 50K. Yeah, exactly, Jan. Like that's, I mean, they are just professionals, and they're professionals in really a new age of war, right? I mean, everybody's saying warfare now is going to largely be drones. Probably true. I mean, that's what it is currently. So they've become very skilled at a very important time. And I mean, the world's pretty destabilized right now. So there's definitely risk of more conflicts breaking out, you know? We are in a crazy time. But, you know, do I love that Trump is kind of pulling us away from NATO? Not really. I don't really like his attacks on NATO necessarily. But what I will say is undisputedly a good thing is that European countries are truly spending more money on defense now, whether or not that's purely from Trump. But, I mean, you know, you look at World War II, what's one of the biggest arguments during there was that England took an extremely long time to arm themselves, right? And they were almost too late, right? I mean, Germany started, you know, arming themselves very, very early, so they kind of had a leg up as, you know, other countries kind of waited. So, anyways, I'm just saying it is very good to see European countries spending more on defense. But I don't say that in the sense of like, oh my God, we've been getting cheated by, you know, Europe this whole time. You know, I'm pretty pro NATO. Because I also think, like, as much as, you know, Trump will argue that, you know, America's getting ripped off, it's like all this that we do to maintain, I guess, control, civility across the world. Yes, it costs a lot of money. We have to spend a ton on defense, but maintaining that hegemon is, like, really important for U.S. interests. So, yes, we're spending a lot of money protecting, you know, other countries supposedly, but it benefits us a lot. So it's my little bit. That's as far as I'll go politically. I'll try to keep the PMT stream non-political, but when there's so much going on in the world, it's hard not to chime in. I try to remain as unbiased politically as I can, and as, like, neutral as I can, obviously, because, you know, when you're involved in political markets, you don't want to be swayed one way due to your ideological beliefs. Ukraine is a Nazi military, i.e. Azov swastikas. Okay. That's some Russian propaganda going pretty hard. All right, this is pretty heavily delayed. Yeah, I know, Lysandra. That was a pretty crazy slip up, but it happens. It happens. I think the best slip up of all time was George W. Bush and Iraq. Like, he said something with let me try to find the George W. Bush Iraq slip up. Watch this. This is my favorite, like, mess up of all time.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia, and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq. Anyway.
Oh my God, this is, like, the best clip of all time. I absolutely love this clip of George W. Bush. All right, Jack, you are entitled to your own opinion. Yeah, that's one of the best Freudian slips of all time. A brutal invasion of Iraq. And then he's like, wait. It really doesn't get much better than that. Man, very delayed. We're now 22 minutes delayed already. Oil, by the way, up to $76 a barrel. Holy shit. Wow. I mean, oil is almost getting priced like this war is just going to completely restart. I mean, the U.S. is in just a terrible situation in Iran because it feels like there's nothing the U.S. can do besides a ground invasion. You know what I mean? Because now that Iran has attacked the strait, that's on the table. So anytime we get into a negotiating pickle, they can just fire missiles in the strait, fire cheap drones at ships, and what can we do? You know what I mean? I mean, what can we honestly do? They're underground. We can bomb Iran as many times as we want, but we're not going to be able to get to them. I mean, it seems like the only true path, if we actually wanted to undisputedly win this war, would be to arm the Kurds. I mean, we tried that in the beginning, right? I just don't think they're strong enough. But I feel like the only reasonable thing we could do is a ground invasion. But I obviously don't think Trump would ever do that, right? Because that would be absolutely political death, right? That'd be political suicide, especially going into the midterms. I just think they're in an unbelievably tough spot. I mean, you look at Yeah, I agree 100%, Jan. But that's why I think we're in such a bad situation. Because if we don't do that, it's like anything Iran wants in the negotiations, all they have to do is strike a boat. And you can't really pull that away from them. And it's like, how many concessions can we give? They agreed to not charge tolls for, what was it? Was it 30 days, 60 days in the MOU? If they push that forward and try to... I don't know what we can do. Unless we get crazy and start, bombing, energy infrastructure. But if we do that, they're going to start striking at Gulf allies. And I don't know if we have enough missile defense systems left. So, if all these Gulf countries start getting freaking hit, it's going to be really bad news. I don't know. It's just a really, really bad situation for the U.S. And I think Trump can feel it. And I kind of feel like that's why today in his talk with Rutt, he was really getting angry. Yeah, it's just such a difficult situation. I don't really know how we get out of it, to be honest. Yes, in this current MOU, we're kind of giving up everything, but what else can you do? Yeah, exactly, Short. It's both ways. In today's talk, I mean, Lil Bugatti, the biggest thing was that Trump said the ceasefire with Iran is dead. He said he's still going to let his negotiators talk with them, but I think verbatim he said something like the ceasefire with Iran is dead. And oil since then has completely rallied. Oil was below $70 a barrel just a few days ago. Now it's up to over $75 a barrel right now, WTI. And I mean, it could easily go higher if we resume, because yesterday obviously U.S. Struck Iran in retaliation to Iran striking boats in the strait. So, a little bit of a skirmish broke out again yesterday. And I mean, each time this happens, it's just makes it even harder to transit the strait. It's very complicated to be able to transit the strait. That's why people saying, we can get this MOU and then the strait just immediately reopens. There's a lot of difficulties. And it's every time there's a strike, that gets baked back into insurance costs for tankers transiting. It's just a nightmare situation. And I mean, if there's one thing that I would be upset about, probably the biggest thing I'd be upset about with U.S. leadership in this conflict is it really, from what I've read, obviously, and I try to stay informed, but try to stay unbiased. But from what I've read, it seems like the U.S. really did not prepare for a closure of the strait, even though this isn't a hidden thing. It's never been a surprise that the IRGC might try to block the strait. That's been supposedly pretty central to their power structure in terms of maintaining power as the regime in Iran. So why we did not prepare more for a potential closure of the strait. We kind of had no response to it. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't understand how we did not expect this response. It seems like it would be a pretty standard response if you take out their leader, you start bombing them, that their one negotiating chip is to close the strait. And we had no response. We weren't prepared for this. So to me, that's just kind of incompetence. And that's what kind of gets me a little angry about this whole thing is like, I don't know how we did not prepare for that. And now we're in just a terrible situation. All right, is this coming? Let's see. Pretty delayed. I'm definitely going to be watching oil markets. And so someone asked about Ukraine, by the way. Yeah, I mean, it's very likely Ukraine's obviously going to hit. He had this conversation with Zelensky. But he sometimes will dodge it by saying, like, Russia conflict or Putin, Zelensky. He won't completely name Ukraine. So that's why I don't think this is like a complete mega bond. I think it is a little weavable. I don't know if I would buy at 85, but I'd say do your own research if you feel confident. But I do think it's definitely weavable. He can talk about the conflict without saying Ukraine, surprisingly. Think they agreed to give them Patriots? Nice. Greenland's up there is a pretty high price strike. Maybe the U.S. thought that the leadership of Iran would totally collapse after they take off the head of the snake. Maybe that's why they didn't prepare for the closure. Yeah, but Jan, you know what I mean? That's just very naive from the U.S. I struggle to believe that our heads of intelligence truly thought you could just kill the leader and decapitate the regime. That's not how the Iran regime works. This is a much different situation from Venezuela. It doesn't feel like they prepared for the closure, to be honest, Buffalo Eagle, but because I don't really know what we've done successfully in response to the closure. But I don't know. What am I looking for in this speech? I don't have any positions yet by the Moss because I haven't had time to watch all of the bilats. Is this more unscripted? Yeah, I mean, this will be more unscripted. I think the things to look for in the speech are, Q&A, right? Q&A is still a question. Will there be Q&A or not? This is labeled a press conference, so that probably would lead me to think there's a good chance of Q&A. And I think with that, Trump could give very long opening remarks, and then yes, prices could get very cheap. And as soon as this goes to Q&A, there's probably going to be an opportunity to get some good clicks on cheap yeses. That's number one. And then I just think number two, how long is this going to be? If you look at his last summit speech, which was just days after announcing the MOU, he was at a summit in Europe. That was a very long speech. So, will this match that length? Yeah, I guess that's true, Buffalo. I just kind of feel like everyone's a little worse off, and also the people that are going to be paying a lot for oil, a lot of them are our allies. Like Japan gets a ton of oil from the Strait. I feel like some of the Gulf countries and Japan, some of our allies, are really not going to like the U.S. After this, or at least will not be thrilled at us. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll give it more time, I guess. I'm obviously pulling for a big success for the U.S. As an American. I would love for good things to come out of this. I don't know. A little hard for me to see it, but we'll see. Man, big delay. Oh, I'm so tired today. I've been working a lot. On top of all this World Cup stuff, I'm getting married in 3 weeks. Oh, so it's been super busy planning the wedding, man. All the random bullshit that comes up with that. I mean, I'm excited for the day, but I just want to get it over with. Thank you, Sandra. It's going to be good. After that, I'm going to Europe for 2 weeks, so I'm hoping conflict-wise everything's okay next month. But it'll be great to take 2 weeks off. I'm finally spending a ton of money, spending like 10 to 15K on like a big Europe trip, so it'll be a lot of fun. And I'm just going to fully detach. How old am I? I am 27. What's up, Purple Kevin? Man, this is really delayed. Did not expect this for Nato. Where am I heading to in Europe? I'm going to Italy. So I'll be spending some time in the Dolomites, the mountain region, which should be really fun. And then also a little bit of time in Venice. I haven't been to Europe much, so I'm excited. Easy 12K? Yeah, it's expensive. I mean, I could have gone cheaper, but like, you know, it's our honeymoon, so I'm like, might as well fork over the money. I'm usually a very, very cheap person, but it's the one time that some of the best sandwiches ever from Italy. Amazing. I love caprese. I love mozzarella. Love tomato balsamic, so I'll definitely be getting a lot of those. Definitely be enjoying some champagne. But yeah, I'm pumped. And hopefully a lot of physical activity, being out in the mountains. Because we know I don't get enough physical activity over here. Yeah, I'm really excited. I've been to Europe just a couple times. I went to Spain once, and I went to Italy once when I was very, very young. So I've never really seen it as an adult except for Spain. Spain was fun, but we went to the Basque region of Spain, and wasn't the biggest fan of their food. Like Basque food is very much like tapas, so almost everything you eat is like, you know, some type of fish on toast, which is good for a little bit, I mean, the main thing, Gustavo, was in the NATO talk this morning, Trump said the ceasefire with Iran was over. So oil has jumped from, sub $70 a barrel to $76 as of now. There's a lot of fear that this Iran conflict will restart. You had that, and then on top of that, he spoke with, he talked about some of the NATO countries and was very upset with some of them, Spain notably. One country that surprised me was Slovenia, one of the most beautiful countries I've been to. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I believe it. I do love to travel, although I don't travel enough. I'm hoping in the next year I'm going to travel a lot more. Kind of been grinding a lot the last few years. Where I have traveled and where I would always recommend people is Southeast Asia. If you haven't gone, it's fairly cheap. I went to Thailand, been to Bali. I don't necessarily recommend Bali, by the way. It's a little bit of a tourist trap. But I definitely recommend Bangkok, and I definitely recommend Thailand. Just really beautiful. Croatia, yeah, I've heard great things about Croatia too. I mean, really pretty. The ocean, everything. Food's incredible. But Europe is just very expensive. So, like, when I used to travel, I would try to go to Southeast Asia. Thankfully now I have a little more discretionary income that I can spend on some more fun trips. Do I have a personal limit on how much I'm willing to spend on a taker order under any possible circumstance? It really depends, Max. I mean, like I'd always say, you should typically always try to do maker orders because the fees on Kalshi are really high. Taker fees in a mid-range price strike of like 50 cents is going to be, say, 3%. But really, for kind of all of my trading, I really don't have any hard limits, right? I have done huge taker orders if something's mispriced, but I guess the way I think about it is if something is, it's for most people, it's very hard to justify ever doing a taker order. Like in the vast majority of markets, it's going to be a bad idea to do a taker order, especially if you think about sports. Sports is a extremely efficient market. The odds that a money line on a sports market are going to be off by enough, like more than 2 to 3%, so to justify the fee you'd have to pay is extremely low. But for things like mention markets, for example, mentions are really low volume, low liquidity. It's not at all unreasonable for something to be priced 50 cents where its fair value is like 70 to 80 cents. So in that regard, Max, I don't have any hard limits on like a taker order. It's really if something is mispriced enough, I will taker it. And then also if I am fearful that the price is going to move for some reason. So if some breaking news came out that I think isn't priced in the market yet, I'll obviously taker as much as I can. So when it comes to mentions, I definitely am a taker, a lot more than any other type of market. I mean, to give you guys context, got a great click on a super niche sports market yesterday, made like $500. Yeah, I mean, that's not unusual at all, James. I've done the same thing. To give you some reasons of like why you should potentially not be a taker, here are the fees I've paid in 2026. What is this? I have paid $40,000 6 months into the year. Pretty crazy. But I mean, obviously, if it's beneficial to take her, I'm going to take her. But fees can definitely get up there. But having high fees is both a it's really interesting, like market structure wise, because having relatively high taker fees is somewhat good. I know it sounds weird. I'm not obviously as a trader, I want the lowest fees as possible. But with the fee structure, so what happens is if taker fees are very high, it kind of saves market makers a little bit, because with what I was saying about like it being very difficult for there to be something mispriced in like a sports moneyline market to where being a taker makes sense. If yeah, you definitely can, Max, for sure. But I guess what I would say is if you were to just look at a general distribution of profit by takers and makers, like makers are going to have the vast majority of profit on Kalshi for sure, obviously. But also it's because there's anyone who's like uninformed, like recreational user is just going to be a taker regardless, because they probably don't even know about limit orders. But I guess what I was getting on my other point is yeah, it protects market makers a lot having high taker fees, because it's very difficult for there to be news that's going to cause market makers to get adversely filled, right? So here's an example of that is, in the USA game, right? Balogun got called in, right? He got ruled in by some insane ruling that no one expected, right? I think fair value is like sub 5% in the other markets that Balogun would play. So USA was priced at maybe 49, 50 cents prior to the Balogun announcement. And then its fair value should have been maybe 53 cents, 52 cents. Now that he was ruled in. And almost no one clicked the money line. There was millions sitting in money line at 50 cents. And fair value is 52, 53. But if you click a million at 50, after fees, you're filled at 52. So what? You make a profit of 0.5%? So having high taker fees saved all the market makers, because people aren't that incentivized to click $10 million at 50 cents if they know fair is 52.53, because they're protected by a 2% taker fee. So it's interesting market structure. I think I think honestly, of like any platform, Kalshi really knows what they're doing when it comes to market structure. Again, I would love to have lower fees, obviously, but they have a pretty good team for market structure. I think they come from a more of a finance background, I guess, which I think helps them. What strikes are in this market? Kind of boring, but I don't have anything yet, Purple Kevin. I'm probably gonna mostly live trade this. I've been a little bit washed on Trump, because I haven't been watching him as much. He's been in Europe. He's been having like 4 a.m. meetings, so I'm not going to buy too many things pre-market, but I'll definitely trade this live. And I mean, my thought process live is, am I doing the Vance one as well? Vance is speaking. When is Vance speaking? Vance is actually getting good volume. 60K already for a 12:30 meeting. What have they front paged? Ooh, they haven't. Oh yeah, they front paged Trump. He's up there. Hopefully this gets some volume. I probably won't play Vance. I don't have a good database on Vance, so I'm gonna end up being the fish in that scenario if I try to play Vance, and it's a big investment for me to like get good data for Vance. To be honest, I've been super locked into World Cup lately, as opposed to Trump. Trump also hasn't been doing as many public appearances. I did play obviously the Freedom 250 Trump appearances, like July 4th over the weekend. Oh my God, that did incredible volume. July 3rd did incredible volume, and it was extremely inefficient. But I've been very locked into World Cup, because World Cup is where all the volume is right now. So it's hard to, and World Cup is so time consuming. I mean, man. Yeah, World Cup's been great. One thing I will say is like World Cup gets me so excited for NFL. Holy shit, is NFL going to be crazy. Really excited for NFL. Yeah, and college. I mean, I'll be excited for college football as a fan, but I'll be excited for NFL as a trader because NFL volumes are going to be insane. NFL was incredible for me last year. That was when I really got into my groove. I was market making NFL a lot and just was doing really well. The NFL mentions went crazy. First day, no soccer, we need to breathe. Exactly. And thankfully, Kevin, we'll have a little bit of a break. How competitive is World Cup mentions versus Trump mentions? It's funny, Max. I would say right now World Cup mentions are significantly more competitive than Trump mentions. And a funny part of that is that because World Cup mentions are getting so much volume, people have moved away from Trump. So Trump has become inefficient again. It used to be Trump became fairly efficient because all of the sharps focused on Trump because Trump did the most volume. But lately, World Cup is blowing Trump mentions out of the water volume-wise. So most sharps are focused on World Cup instead of Trump. So then Trump will end up being super mispriced. Yeah, I mean, all that to say, I think Trump is more mispriced right now, but there's a lot less volume on Trump. But like, if you watched the July 4th speech from Trump and the July 3rd speech from Trump, they were incredibly mispriced, and you could actually get good volume down. I mean, both markets did a few million in volume. Yeah, it's tough, Gustavo. But look, Gustavo, you're killing it on whatever markets you're doing, if it's slot markets or whatever. But I'm glad I invested time in World Cup because I got in late. I missed a lot of the group stages, but I've been able to lock in. I'm having the best start to a month I've ever had, so it's been surreal. World Cup's been great, and I just love watching World Cup. I mean, it's so great for the world. I love World Cup. All right, Trump, man, this is very, very delayed. Ceasefire at 76 cents, only thing you'd buy. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I do think ceasefire is a little bit Q&A dependent. If you looked at the European fixed odds betting, it's crazy a group of odds compilers tell you the price. What a racket. What is... Sorry, I don't follow. Is that for World Cup? Oh, they're saying something. Here comes Trump. Okay, they need to bring audio in. AP is faster than White House. I can't. Okay. I'm going to turn it up. I can't hear this at all.
My team out here, they've all become stars.
AP, turn it up.
Superstars, actually. But we want to thank you very much. We've had a tremendous time and I think a great success. And we just concluded a very successful NATO summit here in Turkey. And I want to thank President Erdogan, who's really a great man. He's a great leader. He's a friend of mine, been a friend of mine for a long time. He's a strong person. Very strong personality. That's why he runs such a successful and good country, and really a great, I would say a great country. Militarily, he's very powerful. People leave him alone. But he's really done a fantastic job. And from the moment we got off the plane, you look at the airports were beautiful. They built a new terminal for our arrival. Everything was beautiful. And so I just want to thank President Erdogan, who's done a fantastic job in Turkey. And I also want to thank NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Mark is an extraordinary person, smart, great leader. It's not easy leading so many leaders like that. Get a lot of leaders, and they're strong personalities, every one of them. And Mark does an unbelievable job. Couldn't find anybody better. I just want to say there was tremendous love in that room. The press got to see the sitting, but they didn't get to see the speaking, and I actually said it's too bad the press couldn't see this, because every one of them spoke for a little while, and I spoke for a little while, and it's a lot of speeches. We kept it short, but it's too bad the press couldn't have seen what we were doing in that room, because it was very smart people, and they have a lot of good in their heart, not evil, good, and they're doing a great job for their country. The world is doing well. We have, as you know, the oil is down. We'll see whether or not we keep it down. We should keep it down. We're doing things that should have been done 47 years ago with Iran. And I just want to say that throughout my first term and over the past 18 months, the United States has led a historic effort to dramatically increase the defense spending and to have equipment that no other country in the world has. When you look at Venezuela, when you look at Iran, essentially demolished their military in a couple of weeks. They had a good military, they had a good navy, they had 159 ships, everyone's at the bottom of the sea. They had hundreds of airplanes, they're all gone. They were all lying burned up on the runways. They were totally decimated, their radar's gone.
This could be drone.
Everything's gone, their leaders are gone, frankly. And their combat capability is pretty low. They have a small percentage of missiles left. They have some of the launchers, missile launchers left, call them launching pads, but most of that's been destroyed too.
He sounds a little sick.
So we have the strongest military in the world by far. Not even close. Everybody admits it. Last year, the summit in the Netherlands was great also, and we achieved an unprecedented agreement
Sounds a little
to
sick.
increase the annual defense spending, and it's the benchmark, raising it from 2% to 5% of GDP, which everybody said was impossible. And now they're all thanking me, and most of the countries have agreed to it. We have a couple of
Spain maybe here.
that didn't, but I have a feeling they're going to, and pretty quickly. In fact, today they were very positive. One of them in particular was, I didn't think a good team player. Today was a great team player. As all of the leaders understand very well, the United States remains by far the largest contributor to NATO, monetarily and maybe otherwise, and the strongest military anywhere in the world, and they respect us as a country. Again, they didn't respect us 2 years ago. They laughed at us. NATO laughed at us. Everybody laughed at us. They don't laugh anymore. There's no more laughing. This year we invested a record $1 trillion in our armed forces, and we're going to be asking for 1.5 trillion coming up. We have the money being spent on the best equipment anywhere in the world. In the working session this morning, we discussed the progress other members are making toward the 5% target, and they're making great progress. Many of these countries are very rich, by the way. We don't have to feel sorry for them. But it doesn't mean they're properly protected. There's a big difference. Some have truly answered the call, and others are making big changes and will be answering the call. I think I can say in all cases they're going to be answering the call, and we'll be taking in over $1 trillion a year
Oil
toward
is
defense.
going down, Jack.
And that's a tremendous amount of money.
Down $1.
It's
so
a big
far
up.
into
They were
this
at
week.
2%. They were actually at 1%. I got them to 2%. And I wanted to get them to 5%. And we got up to 5% the last time. And they're, just again, if you could have seen the respect and the love in the room. And it's love really for the country, for our country. I don't want to say me, because you'll say, oh, he's so conceited. He's such a conceited person. But they do. I mean, they like the job I'm doing. They said, sir, we love you. These are grown people saying that. Isn't that nice? Maybe, I don't know, maybe they're trying to get to me. And in a way they did, because there was tremendous unity in that room. And I urge all nations to accelerate their plans to get the benchmark as quickly as possible. The benchmark is going to be that 5% number. That's the number it should have been for years. As a result of the commitment we achieved last year, defense spending of other NATO members surged by more than almost $150 billion in 2025, and Much of that money is being spent on American-made equipment. They all want American-made equipment. We're pushing very hard to have the defense companies, and they're great. We make the best equipment, the Patriots and the Tomahawks, and everything we have is considered to be the best. Not by me, it's everybody wants it. I wish we made it faster because we could sell as much as we could make. And as you know, I had Lockheed and every one of the companies, all of the companies, Raytheon as an example, Boeing, so many of those great companies are now building plants. They had big plants, but they were using them 24/7. I said, that's not the way to do it. You have to build more plants. You don't have to just go overtime. No tax on overtime. Remember that, please? No tax on overtime. Those people are happy. But they were doing literally 24 hours to get the Tomahawks done and the Patriots done and all of the other defensive and offensive equipment done. It's the most sought after equipment in the world.
Trump is very tired.
You saw that with Venezuela, where they had a lot of great equipment. It wasn't ours, and it didn't work. Our equipment works, but we have to produce it faster for other countries. For everybody, including ourselves, we have to produce it faster. So we think within a year and a half max, we'll be, instead of waiting for a year or 2 years, we'll be having it on a 2-week wait, maybe a 1-week wait. That's what I want. And it'll do really well. A lot of people are
definitely a shorter speech.
Just waiting. They're waiting. They want to get this defensive equipment. Maybe in particular the defensive equipment, but offensive and defense. As much of that money is being spent on American-made equipment. That's the money that the European and Canada are spending, European countries mostly, and Canada. And they're spending that with the United States, largely. And it's American-made, made in the USA, as we say. Weapons, munitions, supporting thousands of American jobs. This will
it's going to come down
increase.
To
we have the highest number of jobs right now. We have the most people working in the United States that we've ever had in the history of our country. We have the biggest investment ever made, $19.2 trillion. That's 6 times more than we've ever had. Think of it, 6 times more. And what did that were tariffs. Without the tariffs, I think we would have done fine. Like at about 2 or 3. The last administration had much less than $1 trillion invested for 4 years. We have 19.2 trillion invested in 1 year. We haven't gone into the extra almost a half a year. 1.5 years. Those numbers won't come out for a little while. So we have 19.2 trillion, not billion, not million, trillion with a T, invested in plants and equipment that's being built all over the country. Eli Lilly is building plants.
AI, maybe?
Merck, all of them. The drug companies are building. The car companies are building like crazy. In fact, as you probably saw a big announcement yesterday, Toyota is leaving Mexico, and they're going to build one of the biggest car manufacturing plants in the world in Texas. That's because of the tariffs, because we don't mind if you build in Mexico, but if you build in Mexico, you have to pay 25% tariff. If you build in Japan, or if you build in any place, China's a much higher tariff. It's 100% tariff because we don't want to lose our jobs. We don't want to have our workers lose their jobs. We have the largest number of plants being built for the most money ever in the history of our country. Car plants, AI plants, and all other plants, pharmaceutical plants.
I'm very delayed. Let me go back to
chips. Saying we're not giving anything. All we're saying don't start. If you we'll give them a year and a half to 2 years to build their plant. If they don't have that, they have to pay 100%, 200%, even 250%. If they make a chip, or if they make a car, if they make pharmaceuticals. So the pharmaceutical companies are moving in at record levels. There's never been anything like what's happening. Let me put it a different way. Put it to you in a more broad fashion. There has never been anything like has happened with this country or any other country in the history of the world. There has never been growth. There's never been manufacturing plants being built. We have so many being built. And in the big ones, like AI, some of the AI, we let them build their own electric plants. We force them to build. We don't want it because the old grid that we have wouldn't be able to supply. They need, just as an industry, more energy than the entire country produces right now, when you think of it, which is incredible. So take all of the energy that the United States produces, and that one industry, which is so big, so powerful, it needs more than that. In fact, some people say almost double.
Yeah, he just
So
seems very
this was
tired.
my idea. I said, you can never service that. You can't
Kinda rambly.
reinvigorate the grid. You can make it better, but nothing like that. You wouldn't be able to build. And we're leading China in AI. Well, in most,
I mean, like, what does this
just
have to
about
do with
everything.
a NATO
But
summit?
we're leading China in AI. Even in TikTok, I was watching somebody say, "Oh, the TikTok deal. It's so bad because they say the deal was incredible, but they think the word that gets out is bad. Except the numbers just came out, and I'm number one on TikTok, and all I do is talk about communism, right? So it's sort
Communism.
of good. I used it to get elected too,
Oh, election coming?
but you have to get your word out. But the numbers came out just a little while ago, and I was number one, some ridiculous number. I never heard of numbers like that, but number one. And all these entertainers are number 27, 29. It's crazy. I don't
This is
even
weird. Speech.
understand myself. But that means that my word's getting out about how great our country is, how successful our country is, and how bad communism is, and how bad these lunatics are that are running for election that don't sound good,
Election.
don't think good, and don't look good. I don't see any looker. I don't see anybody with the look. You need the look, I guess. You need something, but they don't have it. And I think they'll fade fast. And it's not social democrats. This is not a social These are communists that are running. And they don't want God. They don't want successful things to happen for our country. They don't want to have a successful country. I think they're sort of crazy. As European nations rebuild their militaries, American equipment will be the largest beneficiary. The defense companies are going to be making most of that equipment. They want the American equipment because it works better. It's not a question of anything else. We make the best equipment in the world. And to that end, I provided other leaders with an update on the steps we're taking to rapidly scale up production in the United States. And they wanted to hear that because they don't really want to get it in 4 years, 5 years. They want to get it like in a week. And we'll actually be at a point like that in the not too distant future with the plants that are being built. The defense plants, it's incredible. Lockheed is building, I think, 5. Some of them are building 3, 4, or 5, and they're big ones. It's going to quadruple the output we have with the munitions and the basic equipment itself, whether it's a Patriot or Tomahawk missile or any of the missiles that we make many missiles, different types, for different occasions. And just today at the summit, we announced $3 billion of new defense investments with U.S. companies, and Lockheed Martin will establish a world-class Patriot missile sustainment facility, a big deal in Europe. They're given a tremendous incentive by Europe to do that. It all goes to the benefit of us and Europe because they're getting the best equipment. Northrop Grumman is moving forward with the sale of advanced American drone technology. We're actually the leader in drone tech. A lot of people don't know that. We have the most sophisticated
Could be a
drones
really
in the
long
world.
speech because he's rambling
And,
a lot
we're
while he reads through
a
it.
real, I guess we're the leader, but we'll soon be the leader by many times over. And Lockheed and Rheinmetall are announcing a partnership to build the Army Tactical Missile Systems, which is a big deal. And Anduril is announcing a deal to build their new Barracuda missiles, which is a very highly sophisticated, fast missile, and we're doing that for Poland. Poland's doing very well, by the way, with a very, very good president. Great president, I think. All of these agreements directly benefit the U.S. defense industry base, and what it really does is it means jobs. And again, I have to just say that when Toyota announced yesterday, I wasn't that surprised, but everybody wanted to get that. That's the largest, I think it's going to be the largest plant in the world, car plant, and they're moving into the United States. And again, they're doing that to avoid paying the tariff. Because if you build your product here, you pay no tariff. If you don't, you pay a 25% tariff, depending, 35% sometimes 100%, 200%, depending on what the product is. As an example, we're doing great on steel because we charge tariffs. So now all of a sudden the steel industry, which was absolutely dead a few years ago. I revived it
Oh,
in my first
hottest?
term, pretty good. And then they blew it in the Biden term. What a shame. They just blew it right out the window. They had no idea what they were doing. And I quickly revived it at the beginning of this term, year and a half. And the steel business is through the roof. We don't even make aluminum anymore. Now we're going to have the largest aluminum plant in the world being built in Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma. 77 out of 77 counties. 3 times. And it's great. It's a great state. They're going to be building the largest aluminum plant in the entire world in Oklahoma. It's starting very soon. Over the course of the past 2 days, I had a number of excellent discussions with other leaders at the summit and held productive bilateral meetings with essentially all of them. We had dinner last night. Just about all of them were there. President Erdogan of Turkey, as well as President Zelensky, and he just came in, as you probably saw, had a little press conference. And also President al-Sharaf,
Big Ukraine dodge. That's what I was saying earlier.
Syria,
Someone
who's
asked about
doing
Ukraine.
an unbelievable job in unifying Syria. What a job he's doing. Syria was a mess with what happened with the previous government. You know that. A very dangerous place, and now it's just come together. He's done a fantastic job. People are talking about it. In every conversation, it was clear that America is back, and we're stronger,
hottest?
bigger, and better than ever before. We have more jobs, as I said, than ever before, and we're respected again like maybe never before. We are so respected as a country. That's why I wish I told the Secretary General, Mark, I said, it's too bad the press could not see what's happening in this room. You saw the big round circle with all of the leaders of all of those countries. And I don't know, I think they should allow it. The theory is that they won't be speaking quite as freely, and it won't be quite as good, but who knows? It was amazing, actually. The unity in that room was incredible. Really a love. It was sort of pretty wild. There was a love in that room that was great. So this was a tremendously successful summit. And again, I want to thank President Erdogan.
Okay, he's ending prepared remarks. Will there be
Turkey.
Q&A?
And so many of the presidents, prime ministers, they were all here from NATO, the NATO countries. And in particular, we have to thank the Secretary General Mark Rutte for doing a fantastic job. He really put on a tremendous, his was just something, he's a
Will they
unifier.
take questions?
He's a tremendous unifier. So I could take a few questions. We've done a few of these already today, so I don't think we should take too many.
Okay. A few questions.
I don't think we should take, so we're going to keep it a little bit short, and I know a lot of you are going home. Some are going with me. So go ahead, please. Sir, yes. Yes. No, the gentleman right here. The very tall gentleman who's very insecure. He doesn't want to ask the question. He's a handsome guy, but he's very insecure. Go ahead. Do you want to shout it out? Give him a mic. How about giving him a mic? He shouted it out.
Venezuela.
And yet, the Iran war seems to be a strategic dead end for you. Why are you apparently unable to end the Iran war?
So I think we're doing just the opposite. The Iran war has been a tremendous military success. And, you know, I can only answer the question by saying they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. I think
Lots of nuclear.
I was there for one reason, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Wasn't
I
a
call
lot
it,
to click.
denuclearize Iran, and that's happened. They will never have a nuclear weapon. That stuff is so far down under a mountain. It's a granite mountain that collapsed on top of it. Take months to get it out. I think it's a tremendous success, Iran. And you see the oil prices are lower than they were when I started.
Ooh,
and people
don't look
like
at
to
oil
say
right now, Trump.
that, but look, they have no military left. Their Air Force is gone. As I said, their ships are gone. 159 ships are gone. They're at the bottom of the sea. Their radar's gone. Everything's gone. So when you say not a success, it's a tremendous success. The fake news likes to say how well they're doing. They're doing terribly. They have 350% inflation. When the war started, they had like 6%, 5%. They have, they want to make a deal, but they don't know how to make a deal, and then they go around shooting ships at night. I don't like that. You know, they're dealing with very fine people They're dealing with Steve Witkoff. They're dealing with Jared Kushner and J.D. Vance, and they're dealing with Marco and Scott. They're dealing with great people. But I don't know. I think they're a little loco. They're a little crazy. But they told us they'd like to go to the funeral of a person who killed a lot of people. Khomeini killed a lot of people over the years, and there for a long time. Don't forget what we did should have been done 47 years ago. It could have been done any time within 40. This has gone on for. They were the bully of the Middle East, so they're a much different country now. In one day, all of their anti-aircraft things are gone. That doesn't mean they're not going to get a plane at some point, but all of it's gone. Everything's gone. Their leaders are gone. They had leaders, they're gone, and they had another set of leaders, they're gone. Now they have another set of leaders, they may be gone. Who knows? And you know what? I may be gone too, because I'm their number one target. It's out all over the place.
Whoa.
I'm their number one because they're scum. That's the way they act, and that's the way they've done it for 47 years. But I'm doing what's right for the country. I'm doing really what's right for the world. They have to be stopped, and they've killed thousands, hundreds of thousands of people.
Oil here.
They killed
Seems
52,000 protesters over the last 3 months. So when you say we're not doing well, I think we're doing phenomenally well. Our military has been incredible. Plus, we had a blockade. Did we have a blockade? Did you ever see a
Hormuz
blockade work that way?
potentially
For you
coming
that said we're not doing well there. We did great in Venezuela. That was a one-day war, and they're very good military. It's a very military country. We took out one of the worst human beings in the world, Maduro, and he's in jail waiting for trial. But what he did to this country was incredible, including the fact not only the drugs, but he had people pour into the country from prisons. They opened up their prisons. They allowed them to come in. We're getting them out. We're getting them all out. But we have, with the Biden open
Now he's getting into border
policy, with Kamala as your borders are. Remember, she was a borders up, but she never called Border Patrol, never once, and she never went to the border. The border was a disaster. Now it's fixed. It's fixed where we have nobody, and I don't do these numbers. 0 people come in through our border, through our southern border. 0. And that's been announced now every month for the last 12 months. 0. We had millions of people come in, under 25 million people, I think more than that under Biden. And they weren't people that you want. And for the most part, they were drug dealers. They were escaped from, think of it, all the prisons. And I'm not just talking about from South America. I'm talking about from the Congo. I'm talking about from all over the world. The prisons were emptied out. They were emptied out into our country. But they had the worst murderers. We had people allowed in our country that should never, and they walked in through an open border policy. And all I'm saying is that you're lucky we won this election. Yeah, please.
All right, let's see the next question.
Go ahead. No, yes, go ahead. Who are you with?
NTD
Why don't you say your name and who you're with? It's always helpful.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
President,
who are
for
you with?
doing
And then
this.
we can-
Iris Tao with NTD, with a sister media with the Epoch Times.
Okay.
On communism, you've been
Or had that already
doing
hit?
a wake-up call to Americans at
that
home
already hit.
about the dangers of communism. And now
Yeah.
you're speaking on the world stage. What's your message to people both living under communist and socialist regimes, but also people living under democracies like in Europe and America who might not have realized how close communism has come to home?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. But look, I want to get the word out because what's forming is communism in the country. And communism's easy to sell. I would be the greatest communist in history. I'd be right up there with Lenin. I'd be as good as anybody. You've got free rent for the rest of your life. What they don't say is that you'll be living in squalor in 12 months. You've got a free house. Would anybody like to have a free house? We'll take it away from somebody. We'll give it to you. You'll have murders all over the place. Communism's a disaster. It's been proven to be for thousands of years under different names, but same thing. It's very important. And, it's funny. One of the reasons I do so well with the Hispanic people, I set a record, Republicans. I get great numbers for the election. Helped me get elected in a landslide. The Hispanics, because a lot of them came from countries that were essentially communist. Whether you call them radical socialists or communists, there's not that much, but there's a little difference.
Very interesting.
When they say social
here.
Democrats, we're social democrats, it sounds so nice. It's not nice. It's a very dangerous term. So I do talk about it, and I talk about it on TikTok, and I talk about it everywhere. I talk about it here.
TikTok.
And you're right, it has become international, but it's never worked, and it's not going to work. What is working is the United States. When we think of it, we have more jobs than we've ever had. People are making more money than they've ever made. I'm talking about workers now. I'm talking about workers. They're making higher salaries than they've ever made before. It's just the best system, and it's got flaws, but everything's going to have a little flaw, but it's been amazing. And when I watch what's happening, and I see these lowlifes getting, I mean, they're lowlifes. I watch them. I know good people. I know quality people. These are essentially lowlifes. And when I see what they're talking, I think they're very dangerous in many ways. And I've said it, and then I said, boy, that's a pretty big statement. Then I realized, a couple of people said, I think you're probably right. I think this country, with this thing that's going around, is in more danger than it was during World War I, World War II. If you talk about September 11th, if you talk about Pearl Harbor, that was big danger. I think the concept of us going communist, because one thing that happens when you go communist is you never come back, never comes back. You die in squalor. You die a horrible death. You die in squalor, and it gets very evil and very nasty. Yeah, please go ahead.
Mr. President, Tyler Pager with the New York Times. Last month you said Iranian leaders were very rational people, nice people to deal with, strong people, smart people. Today you said they were scum, sick people, and being led by sick people. What changed, and do you think
I got to know. So I've said that about a lot. Now, when you say rational, I think they're much more rational than level 1, level 2. Level 1 is gone, level 2 is gone. This is level 3. I think they are more rational, but based on their actions over the last week or two, they're not doing a service to the people. And I think more than anything else is I got to know them. And I'm not sure I want to make a deal with them. We can play games, but I'm not sure I want to make a deal. Let's just finish the job. Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Ooh, that's going to be bullish for oil.
Thank you, Mr. President. Steve Sedgwick from CNBC. The oil markets are up today, around about 7% for WTI and Brent as well. The world is taking you at your word, sir, that the MOU is over, that the ceasefire is over. What happens next, sir? Are we on the cusp of a full-scale return to conflict?
Well, I'll tell you what happens next. We're never going to see Iran have a nuclear weapon, because that's much more important than the numbers you're talking about. The prices of oil are dropping like a rock. Now they'll be up a little bit, and this will end very quickly. We have an oil glut right now because we got all those boats out of the strait. And it's going to drop, and I predicted everything. I've been right about everything, and I have been for a long time. That's how I got to be president 3 times. That's how I won 3 elections. I did very well in the second one, won it. It was a rigged election. But I've been right, and oil's coming down. Now, I have to make sure of one thing, that we don't have lunatics having control over nuclear weapons. So we have that now. There's no way they have a nuclear weapon. We have cameras, as an
Oil's
example, on
jumping
the site
on
that
this.
those beautiful
Oil up to
B2s at 1 o'clock in the morning 10 months ago blew up. They blew it up. We have cameras, that's called Space Force. They're in space. But we have cameras that can read the badge of the person going over to a site. Mohammed something. We say it's Mohammed something is there with shovels. Well, shovels won't get you there. The biggest machinery in the world probably won't get you there, if you want to know the truth. It's way, way below. But we're watching that. And if anybody goes there, they get blown up. So nobody's going to touch that. Eventually we'll take it. But what we do have is we have that. That's gone. If we wouldn't have had that, they would have had a nuclear weapon.
Oh, Israel.
And they would have wiped out Israel. If I weren't president, Israel wouldn't exist. We did it 2 times. When the JCPOA, the Obama deal,
Hussein.
when that was originally conceived, everything went to Iran. 1.7 billion in cash, hundreds of billions of dollars.
Okay.
They thought they could buy peace with these people. You can't do that. So the big thing we have is, more important than anything we can talk about, is you can't let lunatics have nuclear weapons, and we've stopped that. And that should have been stopped on a couple of other occasions too with different countries, but they didn't do that. Yeah, please.
Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I'd like you to address speculation that you're leaving Ankara not in the new Air Force One because of security concerns involving Iran. You've spoken today twice about them possibly assassinating you and possibly being successful. Did that concern have something to do with it?
Well, I speak about it a lot because, you know, the life of a president is very dangerous. It's 5.2%. You know what a race car driver is? 1/10 of 1%. A bull rider, that looks pretty dangerous to me. It's 1/10 of 1%. No, it's 5.2% is you don't make it. You should have told me. You're an excellent reporter. You should have told me that years ago. Maybe I wouldn't have run. It's a very dangerous profession. No, I'm number one on the kill list for Iran. They're lovely people. I'm number one. So I don't know. I can't tell you that, but I don't really care because I'm doing my job and I'm doing it, I hope, better than anybody's ever done it.
Yeah.
Because we have a country that's
I don't know,
hot
Jack.
and
Hot?
really, really successful. But I mentioned it only because it's on the list. I mean, it came out. There was
Hot
another
instead
list
of
came
hottest,
out
by the
yesterday,
way.
and
I'm like too
number one
dialed
on,
in, Jack.
I like being number one on TikTok
on
better.
just like this speech.
But I'm number one on the list for
it's very
for
important
killing.
speech.
Go ahead.
Hey, John McCreesh, New York Times. But why aren't you flying the new plane home?
Say what?
Why aren't you flying on the new Air Force One home?
It's flying to Europe to one of the big bases, 2 or 3 of the big bases where we can show it to the people, and we'll be going home by normal methods. But we have it going to Europe to a couple of bases, actually one in particular, but it's going to go to a couple of bases stop so the soldiers can see it because it's truly magnificent. Yeah, please. Go ahead. You want to go? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. President, harici media Tunç Akkoç, Türkiye. Mr. President, it seems that the war with Iran may start again. What do you expect from your European allies?
I don't think it's going to start again. I think it's going to go very quickly. They hit a couple of ships, and so we hit them much harder. When they hit, we hit 10 times harder. You know, we hit much harder than they
Oil
do.
dumping.
We have a lot better equipment than they do. We may even, somebody asked before, do you think you'll hit them tonight? I said, we might. Yeah, we might. But when they hit, we hit. You know, it's
Might hit them tonight.
We use their language. We speak their language. No, I don't think so. I think
Oil
anything
dumping.
that happens is going to be over very quickly, and we'll only make it safer, including for oil. Oil is going to be very free, very easy, and it's going to happen very fast. We have the Hormuz Strait, the boats are pulled out.
Hormuz, by the way. Oh, Hormuz was so cheap.
There's a gusher of oil right now. We have a lot of oil, and
I'm just like watching oil markets.
anything that happens is going to happen very fast. We're not looking for long term.
Oil
Okay,
dumping.
go ahead, Red.
You said today, Ines Alcantara with MS Now. You said today that
You're with who?
MS Now.
MS Now. That's a failing network. Why would you want to work for them? MS Now, can you imagine? They wanted to get away. They took the name NBC because they were embarrassed by it. Go ahead, let's go. When do you hear this question?
You said today that countries like Spain, Italy, and the UK were not there for the U.S.
Spain.
and its war with Iran. Should those countries be attacked, will the U.S. be there for that?
Well, I'll tell you what. Number one, Spain has been very bad, but you know Italy's been good, and almost all of the countries have been good. They just had a bad moment. They didn't help us. We didn't need the help, but if we would have wanted the help, I said, by the way, if I want help, sir would rather remain on the sidelines, and I didn't like that answer. UK gave an answer that was sort of weirder than that. They went out. I said, would you like to help? They said, we do, but we want to wait till the war is over. This was not in the spirit of Winston Churchill. So, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I can only say if there's one word that comes out of today, it's unification. I've never seen anything like it. Every one of those countries, they love us, they love each other. That was tremendous unification. It was a nice thing to say.
Oil's
It
not
was a very fair
dropping
question,
as much as I'd expect.
Yeah, green. Yeah, you're wearing green, right?
Thank you, Mr. President. Eda Turul from Haber Global TV, Turkey. Mr. President, after your meeting with President Erdogan, can you tell us whether you and President Erdogan reach an understanding on Turkey's return to the F-35 program and the future of U.S.
F-35
Turkey
question.
defense cooperation? And do you believe U.S.-Turkey relations are entering a new chapter right now?
Well, I had a great relationship in my first term. You remember Pastor Brunson, and he was put in jail for 35 years, and I called. He was an evangelical hero, actually, very good man. And I called President Erdogan, and he let him out. I didn't pay anything like Obama and Biden pay billions of dollars all the time. I never paid any for anybody. I just said, let him out. Let him out. But in this case, I didn't say it the second way. I said it the first way. I said, look, he's a good man. He's highly respected in the evangelical, and I'd like you to let him out. And he was in my office, in the Oval Office, the following day, Pastor Brunson. I had a great relationship. When Sleepy Joe Biden got in, bad things happened with a lot of things between the border. Everything was bad. We were laughed at all over the world, and we had a very bad relationship with a lot of countries. I think Turkey was one of those countries. But that changed on November 5th when we had the election.
Hottest potentially?
And it's one of our best relationships. We have a great relationship. And they're talking about the F-35 airplane.
F-35, there it is.
And it's the best plane, and everybody wants it. And we have to make a decision who we give it to. I mean, my inclination, because he stayed out of. He's not a huge fan of Bibi, and he's not a huge fan of Israel, but he stayed out of that war. He could have gone into that war very easily, and he didn't. At my request, he stayed out of that war. He's been a very, very good ally. I mean, Marco could tell you, we have a very strong relationship with Turkey. You know, it's a very big country. It's a very powerful militarily. It's the second most powerful country in NATO. It's a NATO country. So whether or not we do that, I haven't totally made up my mind. But my inclination is to say, look, he's done everything. He's helped us in so many different ways. And you know who else has been good to us? China. China never came into the war. They get 50% of their oil from Hormuz Strait. They never came into the war. They never said, I'm going to send a ship in 5 destroyers along each side of the ship. They never did. No, President Xi's been great. Everyone's been sort of great, to be honest. You know why? Because they respect our country again. They laughed at our country. They thought we were a bunch of fools. They saw a president that couldn't talk, he couldn't walk.
Man, he's really edging hottest.
It was a disaster. They lost respect for our country, but now they have more respect for our country than they've ever had before. Thank you all very much. We'll see you back.
Over.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Damn, man. That was a rough speech. I don't know. It is not looking good for the Trump admin. I'm not going to lie. This is pretty terrible. And you can kind of feel it. Trump is pissed off because he's kind of getting screwed over. I mean, I barely played this market. I made like $50. Okay. I just was too dialed into the speech. I was going to try to trade oil. But, yeah, that was it. Man, I mean, even reporters, they're just attacking him. Like, I mean, they always do, but now they're just, especially. There's a JD Vance speech. I'm probably going to dodge the JD one. I don't have good transcripts on JD, so I don't have good data. But, man, this is just like, everything just seems really, really bad for the Trump admin. If I could buy Democrat midterm, maybe I would. What is that, like 90 cents? Bad beat? On what? What happened? Yeah. I don't know. That's a crazy, just a weird situation for Trump. Yeah, worn out and old. I mean, he's definitely getting old. Voice was very hoarse today. He's very tired. I don't know. I just don't know how they sell this. Oh, man, they are in a terrible spot. And that was just not a good speech for Trump either. Yeah, that was a very weird speech. Just not a good speech for him. I don't know, man. They are probably scrambling to figure something out. I mean, I've heard him say that before once, Kevin, but like, just, yeah, he just doesn't sound good. I mean, he was sick. You could kind of tell. Voice was hoarse. He was, exceptionally rambly today. Yeah, just not the best day for Trump. He does sound defeated. That's like a good way to frame it, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts canceling a lot of public appearances. Man. Lose the House, lose the Senate? Yeah, I mean, I think that's very likely, especially if this war reignites. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in as always. We'll be back soon. Take care.